Zadie Smith's debut novel White Teeth, 2000, is a sprawling, richly layered narrative about immigration, identity, history, race, and the complex realities of multicultural Britain. Written when Smith was only 24, the novel quickly gained international acclaim for its bold voice, comic brilliance, and intellectual ambition. Set mainly in North London and spanning multiple decades, from World War II to the late 1990s, the novel follows the interconnected lives of two families, the Iqbals and the Joneses, both of whom are navigating the complexities of heritage, assimilation, and generational change. Smith combines post-colonial critique, postmodern playfulness, and Dickensian character scope in a narrative that addresses how history intrudes upon the present, how personal choices are shaped by legacies, and how identities are formed in the crucible of hybrid cultures. At its heart, White Teeth is about roots and roots, where people come from, where they are going, and how these paths intersect in unpredictable, often chaotic, ways. Part 1. The Past is Prologue. The novel opens in 1975 with Archie Jones, a 47-year-old Englishman, attempting suicide in his car after his marriage ends. He is saved by a halal butcher who refuses to let him die on Islamic holy ground. Soon after, Archie meets Clara Bowden, a beautiful, much younger Jamaican woman who has recently left her Jehovah's Witness faith. They marry quickly and settle in North London. Archie's best friend is Samad Iqbal, a Bengali Muslim man he met during World War II when both served in the British Army. Samad is married to Alsana, and the couple has twin boys, Magid and Malat. Samad struggles with feelings of emasculation, cultural displacement, and a desire to instill Islamic values in his children. Archie and Clara have a daughter named Iri, who becomes a central figure in the novel's coming-of-age storyline. She struggles with her identity, body image, and her feelings for Malat. Samad, increasingly distressed by what he sees as the moral decay of Western society, makes a controversial decision. He secretly sends Magid, one of his twin sons, back to Bangladesh to be raised in what he believes will be a more disciplined, traditional Islamic environment. Part 2. Growing Pains and Cultural Conflicts. As the children grow, tensions mount within and between the families. Iri grows up self-conscious about her body, heritage, and hair. She yearns for acceptance and struggles with her mixed-race identity. She becomes entangled romantically and emotionally with Malat. Malat, charismatic and rebellious, becomes increasingly drawn to Western pop culture, but later joins an Islamic fundamentalist group called Kevin, Keepers of the Eternal and Victorious Islamic Nation, as a form of protest against British racism and global imperialism. Magid, raised in Bangladesh, surprisingly becomes a rationalist, secular legalist, embracing science and assimilation more than religion. Ironically, he is more Western than the twin who stayed in England. Clara, having renounced her religious upbringing, becomes somewhat passive, while Alsana grows increasingly skeptical of her husband's patriarchal views. Meanwhile, Archie's peculiar job as a checker of randomized scientific trials introduces the novel's third major family, the Chalfins, a white, liberal, middle-class, hyper-rational family of scientists. The Chalfins, particularly Marcus Chalfin, become obsessed with genetic engineering and are working on a controversial project involving the future of human reproduction. Their smug liberalism and belief in reason contrast sharply with the messy, passionate, conflicted lives of the immigrant families. Both Malat and Magid become involved with the Chalfins, Malat as a disruptive force through his involvement in Kevin, and Magid as a protégé to Marcus Chalfin. Part 3. The Final Experiment. The novel builds toward a dramatic and satirical climax at the Future Mouse exhibit, an unveiling of Marcus Chalfin's genetic experiment involving a mouse engineered to die at a specific time. The event becomes a convergence point for all the characters. Kevin plans to disrupt the event as a protest against genetic manipulation. Magid is there as Chalfan's assistant and co-visionary. Eerie attends as part of her journey toward independence. Archie, in an act of mild but symbolically important resistance, intervenes to stop Malott from committing an act of violence. Malott pulls a gun, but it is unclear who the target is. Archie takes the bullet, but survives due to a metal plate in his head from the war. The mouse escapes its enclosure, a metaphor for unpredictability and the futility of control. The novel ends with a return to the theme of randomness versus design, suggesting that history, genetics, and identity can never be fully engineered, contained, or understood. Character analysis. Archie Jones. Archie is a passive, nondescript Englishman who stumbles through life without strong opinions. He represents the old British working class, now adrift in a multicultural world he doesn't fully understand. His friendship with Samad is one of the novel's emotional anchors, a bond that survives cultural and ideological differences. Archie's very ordinariness is his strength. He is a foil to the passionate idealists around him. His random choices, especially in saving the mouse and marrying Clara, symbolize life's unpredictability. Samad Iqbal. Samad is Archie's war buddy and philosophical opposite. He is proud, devout, and deeply conflicted. His inability to reconcile his religious beliefs with modern British life leads to frustration, hypocrisy, and ultimately, the decision to send Magid away. Samad's journey reflects the post-colonial condition. He fought for the British Empire, but is now sidelined in its post-imperial society. He desperately wants to preserve tradition but cannot control the future, especially not his sons. Clara Bowden. Clara is a quiet, beautiful Jamaican woman who abandons her mother's strict religion for love and freedom. Though she seems passive, she represents a break from inherited constraints. Her daughter Eerie, however, reflects the cost of that freedom, left to navigate identity without roots. Alsana Iqbal. Alsana is fiery and suspicious of everyone, including Samad. She challenges the male-dominated culture around her and is full of ironic wisdom. Her perspective adds depth to the novel's depiction of women caught between cultures. Eerie Jones. Eerie is one of the most compelling characters. As a mixed-race teenager in a white-dominated society, she struggles to define herself. Her quest for identity, beauty, and agency parallels the larger post-colonial narrative. Eventually, Eerie claims her independence, not by choosing between East and West, black and white, but by blending and redefining them on her own terms. She symbolizes the future, hybrid, ambiguous, and self-made. Malott and Magid Iqbal. The twin sons of Samad and Alsana offer a study in contrasts. Malott is street-smart, rebellious, and volatile. Magid is calm, rational, and idealistic. Samad splits them, sending Magid back home to preserve tradition. But the result is ironic. Malott embraces radical Islam in England, while Magid becomes a westernized scientist in Bangladesh. Their trajectories suggest the futility of trying to control identity through ideology. They are both shaped by, and in rebellion against, their parents' desires. The Chalfans. The Chalfans, especially Marcus and his wife Joyce, represent a liberal, self-congratulatory form of white Britishness. They believe in science, reason, and progress, but are blind to their own privilege and condescension. Their attempt to mentor Magid and Malott reflects a kind of benevolent colonialism, a desire to mold others in their image while ignoring their complexity. Major themes. 1. Immigration and multiculturalism. White Teeth explores what it means to live between cultures in post-imperial Britain. The immigrant experience is portrayed with humor, pathos, and deep complexity. The characters struggle to reconcile their heritage with the pressures of assimilation. Smith critiques the myth of Britain as a post-racial society. Racism, cultural misunderstanding, and identity crises persist, though often in subtle, everyday forms. 2. History and legacy. The novel is obsessed with how the past shapes the present. From World War II flashbacks to family histories and colonial legacies, Smith shows how characters are haunted by forces beyond their control. Magid and Malot's divergent paths, Archie's war medal, Samad's obsession with his great-grandfather, all reveal how historical memory becomes personal burden. 3. Identity and belonging. The search for identity, racial, national, religious, and personal, is central to every character. Eerie wants to feel beautiful and rooted. Malot seeks meaning through extremism. Magid wants intellectual clarity. Samad clings to religion. Archie hides in mediocrity. Smith resists clear answers. Identity in White Teeth is fluid, constructed, and often contradictory. 4. Fate versus free will. The motif of genetic engineering and the future mouse experiment embodies the novel's tension between determinism and choice. Can people control their destiny? Or are they bound by biology, history, and randomness? Archie's coin flipping, the twins' separation, the mouse's escape, all suggest that life defies neat design. 5. Fundamentalism and extremes. Malot's radicalization through Kevin and Magid's zealous secularism both represent opposite forms of extremism. Smith critiques rigid ideologies, whether religious, scientific, or political, as ultimately dehumanizing and simplistic. Through satire, she reveals that dogma, from any side, often masks insecurity and fear. Style and literary techniques. 1. Postmodern structure. White Teeth embraces postmodern techniques, nonlinear narrative, multiple perspectives, metafictional asides, and playful intertextuality. Smith stitches together diverse genres: historical fiction, domestic drama, satire, and Bildungsroman. Yet the novel also has a Victorian sensibility in its scope and ambition, echoing Dickens with its large cast, social commentary, and narrative coincidence. 2. Humor and irony. Smith uses comedy as critique. Her characters are often ridiculous, but never mere caricatures. She uses satire to expose the absurdities of racism, hypocrisy, cultural confusion, and intellectual arrogance. This humor softens the novel's political edge while making its insights more penetrating. 3. Symbolism. White teeth symbolize inheritance and roots, what is passed down biologically and culturally. Teeth also represent identity and survival. The mouse in the final experiment symbolizes the unpredictability of life and the failure of scientific or ideological control. The coin that Archie flips to make decisions reflects the theme of randomness and the illusion of agency. Conclusion. Zadie Smith's White Teeth is a dazzling, ambitious novel that captures the vitality, confusion, and contradictions of modern multicultural Britain. Through its diverse characters and intersecting stories, it examines how history, culture, and identity collide in the lives of ordinary people. The novel's brilliance lies in its refusal to simplify. Instead, Smith embraces complexity. There are no heroes or villains, no singular truths. Identity is a negotiation. History is messy. Life is improvised. White Teeth remains a landmark of 21st century literature, not just for its formal innovation, but for its compassionate, incisive portrayal of people trying to make sense of who they are and where they belong in a rapidly changing world.